This is the Prophecy Project. Understanding the times, the nations in military conflicts, with Bible teacher and author Alan Bonk.
Welcome. This is the 12th video in a new series of prophecy videos. It is now 2022 and things are changing all around us. By that I mean the world, its plagues, and governments are going out of control. This is a study of the second book of Ezra, which is also called For Ezra. The videos are divided into individual chapters from the book. Some chapters will be longer than others, and some will have a lot of personal input and questions from Ezra himself. However, most of the chapters are still prophetic in nature. I have given every chapter a simple title from something I found in that chapter. Chapter 12 is The Anointed One Rebukes the Eagle. Chapter 12, verse 1. And it came to pass, whiles the lion spake these words unto the eagle, I saw, and behold, the head that remained, and the four wings appeared no more. And the two went in unto it, and set themselves up to reign. And their kingdom was small and full of uproar. And I saw, and behold, they appeared no more. And the whole body of the eagle was burnt, so that the earth was in great fear. Then awaked I out of the trouble and trance of my mind, and from great fear, and said unto my spirit, Lo, this hast thou done unto me, in that thou searchest out the ways of the highest. Lo, yet am I weary in my mind, and very weak in my spirit, and little strength is in me, for the great fear wherewith I was afflicted this night. Ezra had heard the Anointed One, the lion, rebuke the eagle's empire, and atrocities that it had committed. The Anointed One is the Christ, or Messiah, sent from God to end the world system. The empire of the eagle will be destroyed by fire completely, and the destruction causes great fear in the earth. The vision has also just come to an end, and Ezra wakes up from his dream, vision, and trance. He is very disturbed by what he has seen, and the troubles and the fear that the world had gone through. It had affected his mind. It actually seems that he rebukes his own spirit for putting him through the ordeal, because his spirit was seeking the ways of the Most High. Here's what he said. He said, unto my spirit, Lo, thou hast done this unto me, and thou searchest out the ways of the highest. I believe that what Ezra says is true. The mind of man does not appreciate the spiritual things of God because it's weak, carnal, and easily disturbed. But the spirit of man, man's spirit, desires spiritual things and understanding. God is a spirit and must be worshipped in spirit and truth, spiritually. The mind and soul will make God into a religion, but your spirit desires the power of God in his presence. It is Ezra's soulish nature, his mind, that the angel needs to comfort, strengthen, encourage when he says to Ezra, stand up manfully. Back, verse 6. Therefore will I now beseech the highest that he will comfort me unto the end. And I said, Lord that bearest rule, if I have found grace before thy sight, and if I am justified with thee before many others, and if my prayer indeed be come up before thy face, comfort me then, and show me, thy servant, the interpretation and plain difference of this fearful vision, that thou mayest perfectly comfort my soul. for thou hast judged me worthy to show me the last times. And he said unto me, This is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is the kingdom which is seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. But it was not expounded unto him. Therefore now I declare it unto thee. The vision to which God is referring to can only be the one found in Daniel chapter 7. I will expound on Daniel chapter 7, 1 through 7, before we look in at the interpretation given to Ezra. I think it will prove to be valuable. Verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea, different one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it, the lion, was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon the feet as a man. And a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second like unto a bear, and it raised itself up on one side, and had three ribs in its mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl. The beast had also four heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had iron teeth, great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue of the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Daniel's beasts come up from the sea, and there are 4 of them. Each one is different. The first is symbolized by a lion and has eagle's wings. The wings are systematically plucked of its feathers, and at the end of it the lion stands upon its feet like a man, and has its heart replaced with a man's heart. It's no longer lion-hearted. We will find, as we continue in Daniel 7, that this beast loses its dominion over the world, but it continues to exist after the 4th beast is destroyed. 7, 11, and 12, I'll read it. I beheld till the beast, the 4th, was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, the first 3, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time, so for at least a year, maybe a little more. The second beast is a bear. It's very militant and violent. It too will lose its world influence. This is often understood to be Russia, the Soviet Union. I too think this is true. The Russian bear had dominion and extensive influence in the Levant, the Middle East, until the Union collapsed in the 1990s. The third beast has been debated by Bible scholars for quite some time. Some feel it is still in the future today and not yet manifest. This would mean that no one has replaced Russia in the Middle East. This means that there is a 30-year vacuum in the area. I think that when Russia lost its influence, that the influence moved directly to Islamic control. The third beast is shown as a leopard. Modern Iran is the ancient land of Persia. The leopards of the Middle East are known by name as Persian leopards. I think that an Islamic caliphate having 4 Islamic heads and wings, are controlling the Levant. They are likely Iran, ISIS, the Muslim Brotherhood, and Turkey. These 4 are vying for dominance and control over the caliphate. They have the same goals, but won't submit to each other. There are 4 heads. As in Shiites versus Sunnis, they don't get along. Militant Islam will lose its dominance in the area when the 4th beast comes and runs over the Muslims. It will be devoured and broken in pieces. Now, I want to expand on the first beast, the lion with eagle's wings. If we are in the end times right now, then the lion would exist right now also. The lion is one of the symbols of the British Empire, and specifically England. The British did, in fact, control the Holy Land after World War II. They were very much pro-Arab regarding the development of the area after the war. They even refused to allow Jews to immigrate to Palestine, and the idea of a Jewish state was not on the table in British policy. But the swing of international opinion was in favor of giving the Jews a homeland. The Holocaust was a big factor for the United Nations to vote for the establishment of the nation of Israel. But the British Empire has never been in favor of the move. The British Empire was at its height. At the time that World War II had begun, it was massive, the biggest empire in the world. It was the biggest, most powerful, and influential empire that has ever existed, much larger than any other. From 1948 to the present time, the empire has been systematically losing its empire. One kingdom after another, one feather after another. She's still a major player in world affairs, but not dominant anymore. England no longer seeks to acquire other nations or lands to add to its control. England has become a socialist welfare state and has suffered only loss since its policy of Jewish immigration in Palestine. England is no longer lion-hearted. Her wings are nearly plucked. Now, as a point of clarification and contrast, the British people, the English people, have done more than any other to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the Word of God, the Scriptures, we must not confuse the English people with the government system, the empire. The Lord tells us not to love the world or the things of the world. It would destroy our relationship with God. We see this in James 4:4. I want to read it. Know ye not that friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever, therefore, will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. The British government and the royal system have, at times, had policies that run contrary to the purposes and will of God. It is, in fact, the center of the world system. The 4th beast, now going on, is a very complex subject, and I cannot treat it in detail in this study. It would be far too off point. But it is mentioned in Ezra's vision, Ezra Chapter 11, 39 through 44, and I'm going to read it. Art not thou it that remaineth of the 4 beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? And the 4th beast came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and has power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. And so long dwelt he upon the earth with deceit, for the earth hast thou not judged with truth. For thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwelling of them that brought forth fruit, and hath cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Therefore is thy wrong dealing come up unto the highest, and the pride unto the mighty. The highest also hath looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. Just like Daniel, Ezra's vision has 4 empires, and the 4th is dominant over the other 3. The first is the eagle with the feathered wings, and he lose their feathers. Daniel's winged lion is the British Empire. We are told in Ezra that the 2 visions are the same, except Ezra's vision will expound much more than Daniel's. So we know that the eagle, the first beast, is the British Empire. We need to compare and see how it fits. Chapter 12, verse 13. Behold, the days will come, that there shall raise up a kingdom upon the earth, and it shall be feared above all the kingdom that were before it. In the same shall the 12 kings reign, and at one after another, whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any other 12. And this do the 12 wings signify, which thou sawest. This is important, because the 12 wings are 12 kings, but they don't exist or reign at the same time. They are sequential, and would require a long period of time to be completed. The British Empire was created in 1707 AD by the British Union, and there have been 12 kings, monarchs, coming forward until today. The following is the list. Queen Anne, 1707 to 1714. King George, 1714 to 1727. King George II, 1727 to 1760. King George III, 1760 to 1820. King George IV, 1820 to 1830. King William IV, 1830 to 1837. Queen Victoria, 1837 to 1901. King Edward VII, 1902 to 1910. King George V, 1910 to 1936. King Edward VIII, 1936 to 1936. King George VI, 1936 to 1952. Queen Elizabeth II, 1952 to our present time right now. This line would make the current Queen Elizabeth the last feathered wing. Let's go to verse 17 now. As for the voice which thou heardest speak, and thou sawest not to go out from the heads, but from the midst of the body thereof, of the eagle, this is the interpretation, that after the time of that kingdom there shall arise great strivings, and it, the empire, shall stand in peril of falling. Nevertheless, it shall not then fall, but shall be restored again to his beginning. The 3 heads were not yet reigning. The empire was in danger of not having a king anymore. The royal line was going to fail. But the empire itself spoke from the midst of the body. And the royal line was restored again, like the beginning. Continuity was restored. Now, verse 19. And whereas thou sawest the 8 small feathers sticking to her wings, this is the interpretation, that in him, the empire, there shall arise 8 kings, whose times shall be but small, and their years swift, and 2 of them shall perish, and the middle time approaching. 4 shall be kept until their end begin to approach, but 2 shall be kept unto the end. Within every empire, there are numerous other nation states, which are dependent on the central government of the empire. They would be sticking to the body and trying to survive. These underfeathers are likely those types of kings and leaders. Some will survive and some will not. It says, 2 of them shall perish, but 2 shall be kept unto the end. The British Empire currently has some 64 governments with ties to the crown right now. They benefit from the kingdom in one way or another. Most of these have been given independence and autonomy to some level. Verse 22. And whereas thou sawest 3 heads resting, this is the interpretation. In his last day shall the Most High raise up 3 kingdoms, and renew many things therein, and they shall have dominion of the earth, and those that dwell therein with much oppression, above all those that were before them. Therefore they are called the heads of the eagle, for these are they that shall accomplish his wickedness, and shall finish his last end. This is the eagle. And whereas thou sawest that the great head appeared no more, it signifieth that the one of them shall die upon his bed, and yet with pain. For the 2 that remain shall be slain with the sword, for the sword of one shall devour the other, but at the last he shall fall through the sword himself. When the 12th wing is gone, then the 3 heads will wake up and begin to reign. If the current royal procession is followed, the next middle head of the empire would be Crown Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales. At this time, he is 73 years old, born in 1948. Since the Queen is still alive, any statements I make about the future events, we really just don't know. It will be that we are speculating. No one really knows if the royal family will survive the transition from the Queen to Charles. The voice speaking from the eagle's body, however, seems to indicate that there will be much turmoil and strife during this time, but the 3 heads do end up reigning. These heads will be the kings which make or accomplish the kingdom's wickedness and bring about its final demise. These 3 are not righteous kings. The center, or great head, reigns first, but not long. He appears no more. It signifies that he will die upon his bed, and yet in pain. It seems that he was not assassinated or murdered, but dies in his bed, probably from an illness, perhaps a painful affliction. The 2 smaller heads, which have woken up at the same time as the great head, will begin to reign, but only a short time. One of the 2 heads, the one on the right side, kills the one on the left side. Verse 11:35, we'll read it. And I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured upon the left side. For the sword, this is verse 12:28, for the sword of the one shall devour the other, but the right, the last, shall he fall through the sword himself. If these kings are in the royal family, they would be crown princes. They would be father, son, or even brothers. It should be understood that these events will be happening during the most horrific time on the earth, the Great Tribulation. It will be a time that man's enemies will be those of his own house. I'm going to read Luke 21:16. And ye shall be betrayed by both parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. Someone else will kill the head from the right side as he is reigning. Now, on to verse 29. And whereas thou sawest 2 feathers under the wings passing over the head that is on the right side, it signifieth that these are they whom the highest hath kept unto their end. This is the small kingdom and full of trouble, as thou sawest. Now, two kings from outside the royal family will step up to lead the kingdom on through, to the end. The kingdom will be only a few people or nations, probably only the British Isles, England, Wales, and Scotland, maybe Ireland, and a couple of others. This kingdom is not relieved or spared from the trouble of the times. It is full of trouble. All men living on the earth at this time have missed the call of God. They're not resurrected. They weren't taken. They have missed that call and are in rebellion to God. Now, verse 31. And the lion whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood, and roaring and speaking to the eagle and rebuking her for her unrighteousness with all the words which thou hast heard. This is the anointed, which the highest hath kept for them, and for their wickedness unto the end. He shall reprove them, and shall upbraid them with their cruelty. For he shall set them before him alive in judgment, and shall rebuke them and correct them. For the rest of my people shall he deliver with mercy, those that have been pressed upon my borders. And he shall make them joyful until the coming of the day of judgment, whereof I have spoken unto thee from the beginning. Wow. The lion, which appears in chapter 11:37, and it says, And I behold, and lo, there was a roaring lion chased out of the wood, is identified as the anointed one, the Christ. It says he comes into the world very quickly. He is a man on a mission. The highest has set them forth before him while they are alive for their judgment. The highest hath kept or held him till that very point in time, until the end, it says. He will reprove, upbraid, rebuke, correct, and judge them for their wickedness and cruelty. This lion is not the British lion, but rather the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Jesus, as seen in Revelation 5:5. You can read it yourself. Now, back to Ezra, verse 35. This is the dream that thou sawest, and these are the interpretations. Thou, Ezra, only, hath been meet to know this secret of the highest. Therefore write all these things that thou hast seen in a book, and hide them, and teach them to the wise of the people, whose hearts thou knowest may comprehend, and keep these secrets. But wait thou here thyself yet 7 days more, and it may be showed thee whatsoever it pleaseth the highest to declare unto thee. And with that he went his way. Ezra is told that no one else knows what he knows. He is told to record everything that is seen in a book. Now, Ezra's a scribe and would love to write everything down. But he is also told to hide the book. It is okay to teach the book to the wise of the people, those who Ezra feels may comprehend and keep the secrets. This book was never published to just anyone. Anyone that just wanted a copy, couldn't get it. It appears that it was very much concealed. It had limited distribution until the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. Now, fragments of this book have been found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and written in Aramaic, not Greek, like those later copies. It appears that the angel did not know what the highest was going to show or reveal to Ezra in the next week. Whatsoever it pleaseth the highest is what he says. Now, verse 40. And it came to pass, when all the people saw that the 7 days were past, and I came not unto the city, they gathered themselves all together, from the least unto the greatest, and came unto me, and said, What have we offended thee? And what evil have we done against thee, that thou forsakest us, and sittest here in this place? For all the prophets thou only art left us. as a cluster of the vintage, as a candle in a dark place, as a heaven or a ship preserved from the tempest. Are not the evils which are come to us sufficient? If thou shalt forsake us, how much better had it been for us if we had also been burned in the midst of Zion? For we are not better than they that died there. And they wept with a loud voice. Then answered I them and said, Be of good comfort, O Israel, and be not heavy, thou house of Jacob. For the highest hath you in remembrance, and the mighty hath not forgotten you in temptation. As for me, I have not forsaken you, neither am I departed from you, but I am come unto this place to pray for the desolation of Zion, and that I might seek mercy for the low estate of your sanctuary. And now go your way home every man, and after these days I will come unto you. So the people went their way unto the city, like as I commanded them. But I remained still in the field 7 days, as the angel commanded me, and did eat only in those days the flowers of the field, and had my meat of the herbs. Ezra was an important figure in Zion. He was needed for leadership and direction. The people had become discouraged and were despondent. They felt abandoned because of the time he was spending with God or with the angel. However, if they knew how fervent Ezra had been with the Lord and had interceded on their behalf, they would not be so cast down. Now, this is the end of chapter 12. You can go to the next video in the series to continue to chapter 13 or to any other chapter you wish to view. Thank you for watching.
This was only one session of many. Be sure to continue watching the Prophecy Project series. If you would like to read more information on this subject, you can find Alan's books on Amazon.com.